What's good, YouTube? We're talking college sports in the Deep South, where college football is king. And on the plains of Auburn, the battle cry is War Eagle. Ladies and gentlemen, it is game week down in Arlington, Texas. Good thing this game is being played in a climate control environment because from what I see, it is very hot down there. Now, Auburn is actually prepared, in a way because, they practice in like 100+ degree weather. But at the same time, if you can help it, hey, let's play somewhere where the temperature is controlled. Let's go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And most of all, guys and gals nationwide, if you come to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn, it is always great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle. Now, 2017, we're going to reflect back to there when things were clicking on all cylinders. What did Jarrett Stidham have? He had a plethora of wide receivers to throw the football to, including two guys that are back on this particular staff now, receiving core-wise. You talk about Eli Stove and you talk about Will Hastings. Why these two guys why are they so important? Well, number one, they've been there and done that. They played in some of the big games as well. They've been to the SEC championship, which is a huge deal for them, but they allow the opportunity to create imbalance. That's why you find them wide open. That's why they get open on the jet sweep, because they're so short. You don't suspect them. So very, very good deal to have these guys back. Will Hastings, definitely one of the Auburn just boasts a lot of speed on this particular football team. Will Hastings is sneaky fast. The double move that he makes to get open in the post route is absolutely phenomenal, and it has paid dividends in a lot of ways. Especially we look at games like the LSU game from 2017, where Auburn actually should have won that football game, but Will Hastings played a big role in giving Jarrett Stidham yet another deep option. I mean, you had Darius Slayton as his option, but you need more than one deep option. So now when we look at the receiver core, we look at a situation with Zach Farrar. We look at a situation with Sal Cannella and, Seth Williams. And I think Anthony Schwartz is going to be out for this game. He's making the trip, but I'm not sure if he's going to be able to travel. I mean, if he's going to be able to actually play in this game, recovering from a broken hand. But you have a lot of options receiving-wise that Jarrett Stidham just didn't have, and a lot of people don't take that into consideration. They talk about Gus Malzahn can't, develop quarterbacks. He can't develop. But, there was a roundabout kind of way that the wide receiver position was kind of depleted because of injuries, because of, guys actually transferring. And then to have Eli Stove back. Eli Stove is like a double-edged sword. You talk about a guy that can run the jet sweep, and he's very, very, for a quarterback like, say, Bo Nix, who I think will start to, really have his instincts together to be able to find the check downs. Eli Stove is a quarterback check down dream, especially in the intermediate passing game. You could see it in several games that he played to where it's down in the other end, red zone wise. Jarrett Stidham constantly used Eli Stove as his check down because one thing about it, he's fast. He actually creates mismatches for anybody that has to cover him in the intermediate portion of the football field. So that gives a quarterback like, say, Jarrett Stidham, and I think a gifted quarterback like, say, Bo Nix or Joey Gatewood, an option check down wise in the intermediate passing game. Did he have that in 2017? Anthony Schwartz was that guy. But given the situation, he doesn't need to be the only guy. And even still, you even have guys like, say, Matthew Hill, who could provide that role as well. So Auburn's receiving core can actually be very, very dangerous with the addition of Eli Stove and Will Hastings, War Eagle. And I hope these guys really show up and show out in this particular game. We're looking forward to the Advocare Classic. For those of you guys who are going down or watching the game on TV, that game will be played at 6:30 Central Time, 7:30 Eastern Time, and 4:30 Pacific for all of the West Coasters who will be watching. Of course, Oregon out on in the Pac-12, definitely a West Coast team. Big shout out to the Oregon Ducks. And now that we're on the subject of the Oregon Ducks, Justin Herbert, guys, I'm sold on him. I think he's a very, very good quarterback. However, is he a Heisman candidate, though? Is he a guy that can take his game to the next level and really, really consider himself a Heisman candidate? Because when you really, really look at the numbers from Justin Herbert, he hasn't had that many games where he threw the ball for over 300 yards. As a matter of fact, in all the big ones, 250, very, very menial numbers for Justin Herbert. Also, when he plays against elite defenses, any level of pressure, he's very, very erratic. So this game against Auburn is going to be a real litmus test for Justin Herbert to see if he is really ready to take on this Heisman Trophy, candidacy that a lot of, especially the Oregon Ducks fans, because whenever you talk about Justin Herbert, they talk about we have a Heisman candidate quarterback and all of these other things. And, he didn't come back to lose the first game of the year. I get it. Nobody comes back to lose. As a matter of fact, Derek Brown, Marlon Davidson, Nick Cole, none of those guys came back to lose. Okay, so you can, we understand that story. But at the same time, we need to see the tangible results on the field. Now, when there are favorable situations, it kind of reminds me of Jarrett Stidham a little bit. When situations are favorable, Justin Herbert is actually one of the best quarterbacks you could ask for. I'm talking about everybody's blocked. I mean, don't have to really think too much. He can zoom the thing down the field. One of the best quarterbacks in the country. But under duress, the decision-making under duress is what we are concerned about when we talk about Justin Herbert. Now, this game against Auburn, not only having a good game statistically, say 300 yards. I think that would be a pretty reasonable game, 300, 350 yards passing, which I don't see happening. But either way, that's just maybe my fandom, Auburn fan talk. But either way, 350 yards, actually coming through with a win over Auburn, then we can start talking about Justin Herbert as a Heisman Trophy candidate. Until then, Justin Herbert is just a good quarterback. Just a serviceable quarterback. Like Jake Fromm. I think Jake Fromm is a great quarterback. But until he has that game, that signature game, like what he could have had against Stanford, not enough against Washington, and surely not enough in the win against Michigan State. But until he has that signature win where he puts up Trevor Lawrence, Tua Tagovailoa type numbers against high-level teams, we can dismiss the whole. All he's going to be is a continual dark horse in the Heisman talk. I don't think he's going to win anyway. But at the same time, if he does not perform at the Heisman level against Auburn, he can absolutely forget it, because this is the stage that he has to do it on. So good luck to Justin Herbert. I think he's going to have a great year. Pac-12, all Pac-12, maybe, some type of other award there. But as far as Heisman, I just don't, based on the schedule, based on the skill set around him, I don't see it happening. But the good news for Justin Herbert is he could Jarrett Stidham this thing and get into the NFL, get into a good system, and wind up being a very, very good quarterback, make himself a lot of money. All right, so when we go to SEC play, there have been a couple of teams out of the SEC who have already put themselves on the spot. The Florida Gators not showing up like we thought they would. Top 10 team did not play like a top 10 team, but they have a couple of weeks to figure it out. Texas A&M takes on Texas State. Okay, now here's the deal. We know that in a game like this, where you have a menial opponent playing against a somewhat superior opponent, Texas A&M win this game 41-7. Kellen Mond is starting to, really gel himself as a really, really good quarterback under the Jimbo Fisher system, but there's still some questions. One of the things, you got to make sure you protect the football. That's been a common denominator, a common theme for teams here in the first couple of games, and I hope that doesn't spill over to Auburn in the Advocare Classic. Got to protect the football because that will start to neutralize games that, turn into blowouts but probably shouldn't have. You look at Clemson and Georgia Tech. You take away those costly turnovers. I mean, you turn the ball over in the opposite team's red zone. Of course, a team like Clemson is going to score touchdowns, and the game is going to get out of hand really fast. So it's going to be very crucial for Texas A&M as they face the number one team, number two team, no matter what poll you look at. They're either number one or number two. Clemson, ball protection is going to be optimal. It's something that's going to have to be stressed. And also with the offensive line, Texas A&M is still a little shaky on the offensive line and still a little shaky in the secondary. So, I mean, and having to travel over to Death Valley to compete at this high of a level. Trevor Lawrence didn't particularly have a good game against Georgia Tech. It's just really, really going to be very crucial for Texas A&M to come into that game and play the most physical game that they could possibly play. Also, ball protection is key. All right, guys, this is Auburn Football Sports Talk. I'm going to try to get with you first thing in the morning as we talk about Auburn versus Oregon, some of the things that Oregon needs to do to win, some of the things that Auburn needs to do to win. Now, go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. Kennard Vernon Stewart, I am your gracious host, and I'm at your service. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger, War Eagle.